We are walking towards the most important part of the East Kolkata Wetlands. This place is called Banatala, and the lock gate is a set of 10 regulator gates which are now electrically regulated, but earlier, up to say even 2-3 years ago, they used to be manually regulated. The original sewage fed agriculture and fishery started somewhere around 1880, but that was not on a large scale. That started in Thapa and that went on for quite some time. But the large scale expansion of the wetlands started when both the availability of sewage and the availability of drainage facilities came to happen side by side. And that happened with the construction of the dry weather flow and the storm weather flow. These two canals are very important. Dry weather flow is the lifeline of the wetlands. When in the late 80s, the Ganga Action Plan, which was an action plan by the Government of India to bring the Ganga back to level where the pollution was much less, there were extensive exploration of what were the options by which municipalities could treat their sewage and then only leave that water into the Ganga. In the context of the Ganga Action Plan, these wetlands gained a lot of prominence because Ganga actually meets the Bay of Bengal at Ganga Sagar in West Bengal, and there is a sizable portion of the Ganga, number of kilometers, through which the Ganga runs before finally falling into the Bay of Bengal. Now, there are many cities which have only one river where they draw water for drinking and they dispose their sewage treated or untreated. But Kolkata is blessed to have two rivers. One is the Hooghly, where the water is abstracted, from which the water is abstracted for drinking, and the other is the river Kulti, where comprehensively treated wastewater gets disposed and the treatment happens in the wetlands. The Ganga Action Plan had its main mantra as interception and diversion. The main principle that the municipal towns followed while attempting to treat their sewage was they would intercept the sewage that was generated as a result of the activities of the population in the city or town, and then they would divert it away from the Ganga. So it was interception and diversion, that was the main principle. But when it came to treating the sewage, there were lots of problems because the answer was thought to be mechanical sewage treatment plants. And it turned out that most of these mechanical sewage treatment plants could not comprehensively treat the fecal coliform that was generated in the city sewage. But what was found over here was because of the foresight of the remarkable engineer Birendranath Dey and subsequent engineers after him, but Birendranath Dey mainly. There was interception at the sewage collection points, which means the sewage pumping station. The sewers used to channelize the sewage to the pumping station, from which they would be pumped to the outfall channels. So that was the diversion of sewage, and in the wetlands the sewage would be treated. We have a set of 10 regulator gates on the town head cut channel, and town head cut and suburban head cut join each other, then they will form the storm weather flow. Now what happens, Birendranath Dey and his colleagues found out in the late 20s, early 30s that if these regulator gates maintained the sewage at the level of 9 feet GTS, GTS means Great Trigonometric Survey, that's a particular unit of measurement. So if the sewage was maintained at a level of 9 feet GTS, then out of 10 lock gates, 9 of them remain closed, so that pressure is built and the 10th gate is open. The entire sewage is then flown through the 10th gate to a channel called the fishery feeding channel. This is an arterial canal which runs for 8 kilometers almost up to the wetland boundary, which ends somewhere near the Kolkata leather complex. And along this there are lots of berries, there are distributaries and sub-distributaries that carry the sewage. This flows by flow of gravity and it reaches far and wide into the wetlands, so that adequate supply of sewage is maintained. For adequate supply of sewage to be maintained, we need to have the measure of the sewage at 9 feet GTS. There are measurement points. So that is a ruler, and this side also is a ruler. For a very long time, the first thing that I used to do was come here and see what is the measure. If we close focus, we see the level of sewage here is below 6. It is below 6, the sewage is flowing out and it is not reaching the wetlands at present. It is going out through the storm weather flow and flowing towards the river Kulti. What happens during rainy season is that storm weather and storm water generation are responsible for huge dilution of the sewage before it flows to the Kulti river. So it is not as harmful as one would normally see it to be. And this is what happens during the rainy season. But other times of the year, these lock gates remain closed. All these, starting from there are 3 over there and 7 over here. What happens when the lock gates are closed? This 10th lock gate is the only one that remains completely open. Because those lock gates are closed, the pressure that builds up forces the sewage to flow from here into that canal you can see from that side, called the fishery feeding channel. Come and let me show you. This is the diversion. It comes from there, comes here. Instead of allowing this to flow, this is the diversion. So it gets channelized into the fishery feeding channel. And this fishery feeding channel flows for 8 kilometers. And then it goes up to the end of the wetlands almost. And there are a lot of fisheries that get the sewage by tributaries and distributaries from this main fishery feeding channel. This is fundamentally important for the wetlands. What we added to the normal principle of the Ganga Action Plan, whereby we said interception and diversion and then treatment. The reason why there were lots of tests done about the level of treatment of the fecal coliform, which was the main nuisance which was flowing into the Ganga. So to treat that fecal coliform by growing fish, what we have therefore done here is told the world and told the government of India that this is a natural biological sewage treatment plant, and therefore we do not need mechanical sewage treatment plants at all for our wastewater treatment in the city. You have to remember that only 37% of urban wastewater in India gets treated according to the Central Pollution Control Board's own reports. This happens in spite of the fact that there are sewage treatment plants all over India. So the majority of them do not function properly. Whereas this is a fully functional sewage treatment plant, and it is hardly advisable to try mechanical means which consume a lot of energy and electricity. Electricity means burning a lot of fossil fuel. So it is not a climate-friendly method of treating your wastewater. Whereas this is the most climate-friendly method of treating your wastewater. It's important to understand that this is being treated by the wetland community through their livelihood work. So for that to happen, to continue to happen, we don't pay for our sewage treatment. We don't pay for the water that we drink. For both drinking water and for treating wastewater, we don't pay a single paisa to the municipal corporation. But it is done. And so when the wetland community takes care of their livelihood and treats the wastewater along taking care of their livelihood, it's important to incentivize the wetland community to continue to practice their livelihood and utilize the wastewater. Instead of that, what we're doing is we're not concerning ourselves about how much of sewage is made available to these people. We are also actually treating these wetlands as a piece of real estate where we can build left, right and center. My teacher Dhruba Ghosh used to say two things. One, Kolkata is an ecologically subsidized city. We have a water supplying river, which is Hooghly, from where we abstract water, and another river for disposal of treated sewage, which is Kulti. We have copious groundwater. We have wetlands to treat our wastewater, and food is grown in the process, and this food is actually given back to the city. Our duty is to ensure that the people who through their livelihood and through their experiential knowledge and their continuous work maintain the stability of the city of Kolkata, enhance its livability, are given ample opportunity to survive themselves. Today, we are not doing that. This is one of the places which is showing a very rapid population growth and of people who are doing all kinds of things. There is a big component of non-sewage based livelihood. We are not in the finishing stages of the survey yet. It will take a little more time to finish and then we will do further work. But what it is showing is a very palpable threat of disincentivizing the wetland community so that they don't want to lead a sewage-based livelihood any further. The basic thing is the insecurity, and we have to address this. এই হচ্ছে খাবার জল যাচ্ছে।